lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
Well, it's obvious he's not in Moda'ine. If you look real close, you might find out. There's no way to tell.
So,
You're just down the street, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I brought the computer over, people see the ice and the snow.
Yeah.
Just yeah,
And the,
so
and the
here I am,
half-eaten
guys.
cornbread.
Yeah, here I am in North Carolina, and it was 22 degrees here yesterday. Um, and it turns out it was 22 degrees in Modine yesterday as well.
Yeah.
Difference is Fahrenheit, Celsius. So what that meant for you Fahrenheit focused people is it was 71.6 degrees, call it 72 in Modine, 22 here, Franklin, North Carolina. Yeah, I'm just loving life. What can I tell you?
Yeah, yeah, I know. And you had your black Michelin Man coat on last night.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Just trying to stay warm, huh?
trying. And of course, of all the things that we're trying to do is trying to figure out what the news is in
Yeah,
Israel
yeah.
and where it's heading.
Make
Um,
some sense of this, please.
every time I see, well, this is what the deal contains,
Hmm.
I then read a refutation of that from someone in the Knesset or whatever. So the bottom line is there's no deal signed yet. Strangely enough, it is the basis of the same deal that's been bouncing around for several months.
Hmm.
There's nothing radically different in it.
Okay.
It appears that it is a proposed phased agreement. The first phase would release, thank God, approximately 33 of our hostages. Here's the phrase, though: most of them alive. Now, it was funny in watching The Princess Bride when the Billy Crystal character said, "Oh, he's not dead. He's just mostly dead."
Hmm.
I mean, it's staggering. For that, we're to surrender an ungodly number of convicted terrorists,
Yeah.
arch terrorists, some serving life in prison, blood on their hands. That's supposed to last for approximately, and there are different, 42 days.
Hmm.
That's then supposed to lead into negotiations for the next phase. And is Israel retaining control of the Philadelphia corridor along the Egypt-Gaza border? Is Israel not? Is Israel pulling out of Rafah? We don't know. We don't know. The
Before
bottom
we
line, I'm
before you
sorry.
move on, before you move on, I want to remind everybody before we get off of that subject right there that it was in one of the hostage or in one of the deals of prisoner release that Sinwar was released. And so all that has happened since October 7th of 2023 began with one of these prisoner releases.
It
So
was,
how many of this thousand or whatever it is prisoners are being released? How many Sinwars are in there? We don't
yeah,
know.
Sinwar, along with 1,000 other terrorists, were released for Gilad Shalit.
Yeah.
The terrible being caught between a rock and a hard place is how can we allow our hostages to linger and be tortured and be starved and brutalized and
Yeah.
raped? How long can how can we not? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, on a national level, how can we release and all these things about they're going to go to an unnamed third party country. Okay.
Uh-huh. For how long?
Um, so they're not going to come back to Judea and Samaria. Okay. And Israel can ensure that. Okay. Um, but it's a bad situation. The elements of it, though, we can go back and forth and say, well, it's supposed to be this number. Let's see what the final deal actually is. The things that are disturbing me the most is the tremendous pressure put on Netanyahu by Trump's envoy to the Middle East.
Hmm.
I'm struggling with trying to understand what it is about the incoming Trump administration that is pushing Joe Biden's deal. That, I spent a lot of hours last night watching videos, reading articles from Israel, and just trying to say, huh?
Mm.
Now, the problem is, of course, trying to figure out Donald Trump's position on just about anything.
Yeah.
Other than that incredibly detailed and articulate statement that there would be hell to pay if there, and really, when you think about it, and we were talking about this in the car, there's nothing that he can do against Hamas. America's not going to bomb Gaza.
No.
America's not going to say, you know what? Even though it was the position of the Biden administration to allow in massive quantities to resupply Hamas with food, water, fuel, America's going to stop that. Not going to happen.
Hmm.
So the only element of pressure that the Trump administration can apply is on Israel. And that's why it looks like we're going into a deal that is stinky.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that does not mean, here's the other element with the big question marks. Is this going to lead to the end of the war in Gaza against Hamas? I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, a year ago, November, we got hostages out and we went back to war, which I think is a bizarre scenario. The
Mhm.
same situation may happen in Lebanon with Hezbollah. We don't know. So there are a lot of question marks, and all I can do to tell people is stay focused on what you're doing. Those of you who are um, doing things on behalf of Israel, I kind of paused for a second here. You need to continue writing letters to your governmental officials here in the US. Or for those in Canada, good luck, reaching someone in your government. Um, you need to be active. You still need to be active on behalf of Israel. There still need to be vigils on behalf of Israel. There still need to be contacts with other members of your church, synagogue, or communal organizations. There still needs to be funds raised. You folks still need to be saving for your trip to Israel.
Mhm.
Now, that date has a question mark on it. Okay, agreed. But, as I said to you, Mike, I don't want to see a situation where there's, a ceasefire in effect or something, and the airlines start coming back en masse, and tourism is open, and then the peeps that we know the best will say, "Oh, yikes! No, I haven't been saving any money."
Mhm. You know, this whole thing about when will this be over? Well, I could say that it's not going to be, this is an ongoing thing. The only way that you can bring an end to Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis is to cut off the cash flow to the point that the only thing that they have to fight with is a stick.
Yeah,
You have taken them so
absolutely.
far out that there's nothing that they can do to just erase, let's say that somebody comes up with this wild idea that we're going to kill every Hamas troop that is in Gaza. Well, what about the children that they've raised? The anger is still flowing, and in fact, would be even greater. And so this is a generational thing. And the answers to me, I don't think that there's anyone in Washington or Europe or Israel itself that actually has the backbone to go forth with the final answer to this thing.
Well, in biblical times,
Hmm.
you would say, well, go in and wipe them all out.
Yeah,
This is Amalek, this is evil. Nobody is talking about that.
that's
You
just
know,
kind of what I just said. Yeah,
now, also, nobody has a game plan for the day after. Now, Blinken,
true.
and I still don't understand why this guy who's going to be Secretary of State for only a few more days is continually spouting things. And the reality is, this war has gone on for as long as it has because America insisted that we in Israel resupply Hamas.
Yeah.
Notice, folks, I did not say resupply Gaza because none of the aid, none of the fuel goes to the Gazans. It
No.
goes to Hamas.
Yeah.
And they then sell it and use it and supply their terrorist fighters, all these things. This is a huge problem. Meanwhile, Lebanon, after a 2-year impasse, has a new government.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
their prime minister is the same guy who was on the International Court of Justice
Hmm.
prosecuting Israel. He's the prime minister. The president, according to their constitution, the president has to be a Christian. So this guy was a former head of the army. He's the guy that's saying, Lebanon is only going to have one sovereign, whatever, and implying that he's going to get rid of Hezbollah. For those of you old enough to remember, Lebanon went through a horrific civil war for many years. This isn't changing anytime soon. Um, we don't know. We don't know the particulars of what's going on, and we can only focus on what we can control. And I have to tell you, I haven't been in America long. It's been 2 whole days. But in my contacts with people, because it's interesting, I guess people don't feel that they could Facebook message me in Israel, but they could Facebook message me when I'm in the United States. All of a sudden I'm starting to hear from people like, "Oh, you're in America." Yeah, I'm in America, but I get the same messages that I do and I get the same WhatsApps, whatever it is. And people's focus has shifted away from Israel, and it's almost like they expect Donald Trump to come riding down Pennsylvania Avenue on a large white horse, waving his wand, making America great again. And, I was struggling because I was trying to remember in his first administration in 4 years if America got great again or not. But again, I don't want to go into American politics.
Yeah.
And then people saying, well, don't be critical of America pressuring Israel. There must be like a secret deal, and Trump has signed an agreement with Netanyahu. I don't believe it, kids. Science fiction. Come on.
Yeah. And I have to disagree with you on one thing. I don't think that he would be riding on that large white horse, waving a wand. He would be doing the Trump dance to YMCA on the back of a horse. Okay. Just saying. I think this is a good place to bring out that this program, the Israel Update, which is in its, I don't know how many episodes we've done through these years, began with the Abrahamic Accords.
Um, Actually, it was the announcement of Trump's deal of the century,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
not
Yeah.
the Abraham Accords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. The deal of the century. I think I could make a fairly good argument that that began the downfall of the Trump presidency when he began to
Good thought.
meddle
Interesting thought.
in Israel politics at that point. The wheels on the bus, at least the lug nuts, became loosened. Uh, what Donald Trump does to Israel, and I don't think he understands this. He is America centric, and that's fine. Okay, he's the president of the United
He's
States.
supposed to be. He's
Yeah,
supposed to be.
he's supposed to be America centric. But what he does not understand this. I don't believe that what he does to Israel will affect what happens here in America.
Yeah,
And we've seen that over
sure.
and over again. You go back to John McTiernan's book, God's Final Warning. You go back to Bill Koenig's book, Eye of the Storm, and it lays these things out. Now, you also said something about people remaining Israel focused. I'm going to have to take exception with that, Hanok,
Sure.
because if a person was Israel focused, they would still be Israel focused.
Well, for some people, it's a temporary, transitional, or kind of like in vogue kind of thing. For some
It's not
people,
a, yeah, it's more
it's
of
the
a
congregation that's doing it.
it's more of a
Not
side
us.
glance and then
Okay.
coming back. But the great thing is that we have a lot of listeners that are faithful to this program on a weekly basis that are Israel focused. They have not
Yeah,
lost that.
right.
And Kola Kavo, congratulations. More power to you of those who continue to
Absolutely
do this
agree.
because you are a slight minority. And we're going to be seeing some transitions in the United States. You mentioned Blinken. These people have, at this point in time, three news days left. Okay. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In those three news days, what many of these people, the president, current president, Blinken, right on down the whole cabinet, the thing I see them doing is to take the few people in the United States and the world that don't believe that they are total idiots and convert them into that thought.
There is a loss of ability to think. Um, First of all, if there's a concept that you need to get across, if you can't condense it into a TikTok video, a lot of people will not pay attention to it. The other day, I started seeing things popping up that Israel was to blame for the fires in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if those fires were started by the space lasers that, Israel was blamed for years ago by that member of Congress. I think she's still in Congress. Um, there's no end to naivete, certainly no end to stupidity. And it's just hard for me to understand. And this is, it's interesting. This is a topic that you and I have been talking about a lot recently. It's hard for me to understand that people don't have an inner purpose slash cause slash reason for being to go from day to day to day.
Well, you mentioned that, and I saw something that said, it's Israel's fault that the fires broke. It's Israel's fault that the people were killed in New Orleans. Oh, that's ancient history. It's Israel's fault that the guy set the you know there's this group of people out there that want to blame Israel for everything. However, they should be turning that blame over to is it possible, or at least ask a question, is it possible that these things are happening because of the world's response to Israel? You know, you have I did a sneak peek at your slides. Ha ha. I just wanted to make sure that Uncle Hanok was not doing something that he shouldn't on Shabbat. So, and you know, the number of resolutions, United Nations resolutions to Israel against Israel, as opposed to other countries. You mentioned it on the drive up here from the airport. How many people were slaughtered in what was it, in Lebanon, in
In
Syria?
Syria. Yeah,
Um,
a mass grave of 100,000 people. Now, just so our listeners can appreciate the number 100,000, they were killed by Assad.
yeah.
100,000 people, men, women, and children, mass grave. And this is huge. That's 2.5 times every killed, well, all of the alleged Gazan casualties, fatalities. 2.5 times that number. Now, again, remember, that's called a genocide. 20 some odd thousand Hamas terrorist fighters were killed, but somehow they're lumped into women and children. Forget about them using human shields. 2.5 times that number killed in Syria, not a peep. No one cares. No one cares.
Well, they could have if they would have been able to find an Israeli with a pocket knife in his pants pocket within a mile or so of that, then it would have made the news. I know that sounds ridiculous, but guys, this is the absurdity of the news of what happens. And I'm at this point in time, my concern is that the statement that Trump made the other day, if the hostages are not released, all hell to pay, whatever. Um, I don't know. We were talking about this, I think, at dinner. I don't think that he understands what the Arab mentality,
No,
the Islamic mentality is. You cannot describe this in a business context.
no,
And
no.
so
He's beyond
if
naive in that
if
sense.
he
Yeah.
does not follow through with something on Monday of next week that is at the level that he spoke it, then that will be considered weakness in the Arab world.
Just want to mention to people, Trump tweeted something the other day. It was a quote from a presentation of a professor at Columbia University. That in and of itself should cause everyone to be shocked. But it was this idea that Netanyahu has been behind every America's involvement in wars since 1995.
Hmm.
That it was Netanyahu that pushed America to invade Iraq, etc.
The
Well, first of
Mossad
all,
did the 9/11. Yeah, I got it.
so this what was that wasn't included in this professor's thing, but when he pointed to 1995, Netanyahu wasn't prime minister for the first time till 1996.
Hmm.
But my question is, why would Trump have tweeted something like that?
Hmm.
See, I'm always looking for the reason behind the so-called reason. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing. And then when people tell me, well, he loves Israel, he does Trump loves Trump. And if Israel fits into that equation, then it works.
You know, um, what you just said is the reason that both of us stay in trouble a lot of times. is that we have this tendency together. It was funny when we went to lunch in Atlanta, the waitress came up and she finally says, "Are you guys brothers?"
Yeah,
It was, she didn't
that's very
really
cute.
know what the question. She's from Nigeria,
Yeah,
half Nigerian, half Somali.
kept Somalian. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know that she's ever heard of Ephraim and Judah, but it was just hilarious when she said it. But we have this thing together, and as I said, that keeps us in trouble a lot. Not just gets us, keeps us. That we're looking behind the scenes, and some may call it cynical. Um, Maybe it probably does edge on the side of cynical, but I want to be discerning in our day. Am
yeah.
am I glad to clean up a little bit? Maybe am I glad that we have Donald Trump being sworn in on Monday instead of the alternative? Oh, I wish I could cackle. Yeah, of course. And I wish this man the best. I was
Right.
watching, the confirmation with Pete Hegseth yesterday. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy's I just like that guy standing up to these idiots, and not allowing them to draw him down to the well of idiot. Uh, it's fun to watch as they're exposing. So, am I glad that he's the one that's taking office? Am I thrilled at many of his appointments? Yeah. Do I wish him the best? Yes. Do I,
I I
may his
agree with
visions?
all of that.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. But I'm not walking into this thing with MAGA colored glasses. I want to see what the outcome is. And if people are just saying, well, you're not supporting, yeah, I'm totally supporting what's going on, but I want to see what's the back end of this thing.
Yeah,
And I think anybody with any discernment of our day should be doing the same thing.
I agree.
Yeah. When's the last time that you met somebody, you put total trust in them, only to find out a year later that their agenda in the friendship was not as righteous as you thought it was?
There was a TV show I watched as a kid. Other than Underdog and Superman, this was the first TV show that I remember clearly. It was called Racket Squad. And there was a character, Captain Braddock, that was there about, confidence games and things. Um, and at the very end, he would always come out there and say, and remember, people can slap you on the back with one hand and pick your pocket with the other.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
In fact, that's how you pick a
And
person's
that is
pocket,
the
is to
definition of
slap them.
politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's how
the
you
definition
do
of
it.
politics.
That's how you
Yep.
do it. You slap somebody on the back, get their attention, and then you pick their pocket. I don't know how to pick pockets. Okay, guys, I've never done that, but I have watched enough movies of people that show you how to do
Right.
it. All right.
That's
Well,
great,
hey,
man.
I guess we will be continuing this routine that we have, and that is, I'll see you for dinner tonight. Hopefully, you will not have eaten
That's great.
all of your cornbread that my
No, things
wife
are fine.
made for
Not to
you.
worry. Not to worry.
Okay. You're gonna have a small piece left?
Yeah. Just want to remind folks, my schedule is on my website,
Yep.
kolyehuda.com, KOLYEHUDA.com. And believe it or not, this always startles me. Been in America 2 days. I have 13 engagements ahead of me, a lot of travel back and forth. Um, Strange schedule this time around, and people are already making inquiries about the summer. So just want to say the summer trip, dates not known at this time.
Okay.
If you think that y'all would want me to come to your group and, I don't have winter worries then, um, give me a shout. Let me know. Let's start talking about it.
Yeah. Hopefully, it'll be more than 22 degrees here when you come in
I
in the
sure hope
summer.
so.
So, all right.
All
Hey,
right,
I'll
man.
see you in a few hours. Okay.
Okay, Mike. Have a good
Later.
one. Bye bye.